Hello, music listeners, underground enthusiasts, and people who cringe and vehemently detest mainstream pop. Grow up. Some of it is good. Arizona sponsor me. First song that we had this week is a new one from Atlas in the form of Rosemary. This is the first Atlas song in over a year since Pastel Figments, an ambient EDM project that I did like quite a bit back then, and since then has aged pretty well in my eyes. Rosemary kind of continues some of the sonic themes that were present on that project in terms of the foggy ambience and the occasional discordance, but in a much more organic indie context, and I think that recontextualizing Atlas's ability to make this warm instrumentation and these digitized vocals blend really well in the form of a bouncy indie track is pretty cool. The drums on the track are dusty and distant. They sound pretty great with these climbing vocal melodies that Atlas is using in the verses, and not surprisingly, the writing on this is poetic and poignant. So many great memorable lines stick out. Every single one could justifiably be the standout line of the song. The processed vocals, this hazy flute sound, and ambient melodies creates a pretty soft, ethereal sound that I would love to hear more of from Atlas in the future. Atlas's return will garner no complaints from me. Lord K has dropped Soul Catching, and pretty immediately Rose's production stands out to me. He's a producer whose work I am incredibly familiar with, and what I expected him to give on this track is pretty much exactly what he did give. You know, tight and clean mixing, hard-hitting percussion, and subdued melodies that give Lord K enough room to do pretty much whatever he wants with the beat. I love the bounce of the hook on this. It's honestly super catchy, and it highlights Lord K's ability to not only make, hard-hitting bars and nice flows, but also pretty catchy choruses as well. But on the topic of bars, the flows are pretty rapid fire and compact, but also legible and smooth. They're fast, but you don't gotta keep up with them. The delivery is punctual, and I love how the dampened horns kind of creep in the background of the track as a bit of a slight accent to everything else going on. Pretty infinite replay value. I love it. After has dropped Overdue, and the major highlight of this track is definitely the singing, further defined and shaped by the high-passed mix that this wave of pop cannot seem to let go of. The hook is infectiously catchy, the melodramatic delivery sells the emotion really well. I love the singing on this, it is so pretty. The guitar melody is super slick when you can hear it, and mostly acts as a hidden in plain sight supporter of the rest of the track, and I think that it does work pretty well in that regard. There's a bit of a switch up in the middle of the track where the delivery becomes a bit faster, a little more brash, with some additional saturation and hip-hop influence. It breaks up the structure of the track pretty well, and I think that its inclusion not only works out, but also elevates to the track to something it would not be without it. Lyrically, it's a love and lost pop track, personal but still digestible. I like it a lot. It's incredibly well produced too. Everything is scary clean, and the clarity of it carries it a long way. I'm a big fan of this one. Boygrim has dropped On Your Mind, and right out of the gate, I love the instrumentation on the song. The thick and saturated guitar riffs and muddy chords, screams, alt rock. I love it. And pretty much every aspect, it's a pretty heavy track. The vocals are pained and emotional, strained even at their softest cadence. The aforementioned guitar blends pretty beautifully with the drums, which do their job. They're consistent, nothing too crazy, but they work. The chugging bass line is a pretty good support as well. Once again, nothing too crazy, but it is incredibly functional to the track, and I think it serves its job well. The chorus is incredibly catchy. It's a pretty well-crafted track altogether. I just love the absolute moodiness of it. I love the delivery here. I love the melodramatic and dejected writing. It's a nostalgic sound, but it doesn't rip an era either. It rather honors and manipulates it in a little bit to be its own thing. Shout out Boygrim. Clovehitch has dropped Anti-Apathy song, and the highlight of this track right out the gate for me is the writing. I'm a lyrics guy to a fault. You all know this. It gives off the vibe of a more poetic and almost antiquated language structure. The way each line flows into the next is gorgeous, and I love the word choice that brings out the imagery of the track and brings it to life. And Clovehitch's vocals here are stunning as well. The falsettos are clean and emotional. The wispy tones match the airy plucked guitar melodies pretty perfectly. It's light and airy. The vocals cut through wonderfully. I just don't love the synth that comes in. I understand its purpose and how it is used to distort and boost the frantic and urgent energy of the track as it progresses, and it does a good job of that. It just doesn't really do it for me. Otherwise, one of my favorite songs of the week. We had a new fats'e song with Pull the Lever, and in classic fats'e fashion, the guitar on this track is so slick and so clean that no matter how it kind of fits into the mix, whether it's up front, whether it's in the back, it still finds a way to cut through no matter what. And on the topic of production, this song has a bit of a triple threat team working here that does a really great job of creating a swirling and brash environment that they don't lose control of despite its chaos and intensity. Everything is still very intentional. I especially love the drums. The blown out 808s contrast the bright industrial hits that cut through everything like a knife. The mix has the super roomy drums, but then also in other areas they're more dry and up front. It creates a lot of texture for the track, and I like it a lot. It's fun to listen to. And fats'e's vocals on this are equally as clean as that aforementioned guitar riff, and honestly, this hook is killer. It's probably one of my favorites from fats'e in quite a while. I love how dry the vocal mix is too. I know that it is tempting to layer vocals, especially in more energetic parts of the track, but letting the main vocal breathe with some intermittent but still distant background vocals is the best approach to the vocal structure for a song like this. And as a result, fats'e breaks through with great clarity and is definitely one of my favorite performances from him recently. The writing hits hard and the delivery reflects that, but just like pay attention to how the vocals on this song are mixed, because less is more. They work beautifully. Gort has dropped Loading featuring bruhmanegod, BMG. The entire song has pretty much been run through a filter to be dampened and about 90% mid-range, and honestly, I kinda love it. It kinda works really, really well for this. The vocal mix paired with the drums and the low-toned ambient notes that drone throughout the track, it's pretty much perfect for what it is. Cause yeah, like it's muted and it is subdued in terms of mixing, in terms of production, but then also you still get a lot of the energy breaking through of the track. That part isn't pushed to the back. It's staticky, but it's also so much fun. And BMG is a great contribution to this track as well. The angry rasp and edge to his delivery sounds great, and is also a good contrast to Gort's smoother delivery. The song is grimy and it's dusty. It sets a great tone and it has a great sense of style to it. I'm a big fan of this one. Ending out the list, we have Salem Avenue with Everything Is Great, and the entire song has a soft, warm tone to it. Even when the energy picks up, it's always, in a good way, held back by the mix to keep things pretty balanced. I love the hazy tone of everything, especially in the vocal mix, which sort of sits in the back compared to the other elements of the track. I love the Midwest emo influence in the guitar work, I love the simple but reliable drums, and the twinkly melodies that are sort of spread throughout the track as well to add a bit of a flair to it. The singing is also really pretty, and I think that the writing plays into the mood of the song incredibly well. This song does feel very seasonal, so, you know, enjoy it while it's what I believe to be the best time to enjoy it. And that's going to do it for this week's song roundup, weekly songs list. If you have listened to some of these tracks, you know, comment. Let me know what you think about them. Did you like them? Did you hate them? Are you indifferent? I want to know. I care about your input. And if you haven't listened to them, go give them a listen. Obviously, I think they're all worth listening to, and you trust my opinion. You're watching me. You've made it this far in the video. Obviously, you care a little bit about what I have to say. So yeah, that's going to do it. I put some new merch designs up on the Teespring website that I've, never promote at all, but, if you're interested in getting something, supporting me while also receiving something in return, it's a decent way to do it. So that's going to do it. Catch me in the next video where I personally confront every single rapper who has ever made a Marvin Gaye to Let's Get It On bar. Bye.